All right, let's dive right in. Today we're talking about AltLayer, a project that's, quietly aiming to completely reshape the very foundation of blockchain tech. We're going to look at its technology, how it's being used in the real world, and what its future might look like. So let's get into it.
So let's kick things off with a big question for you. What if creating a brand new blockchain was as easy as, say, deploying a website? I mean, think about it. You've got this amazing app idea, but it needs its own dedicated blockchain. Right now, it's a huge undertaking. But what if it didn't have to be? What if you could just spin up a secure, custom blockchain in no time? Well, that is the exact problem AltLayer was designed to solve.
Okay, before we get any deeper, we've got to get one key term locked in: the rollup. Real quick, just think of it like an express lane on a super busy highway, let's say Ethereum. It just grabs a whole bunch of transactions, processes them way faster and cheaper over in its own lane, and then sends a quick summary back to the main highway. This idea is pretty much the foundation for how we scale blockchains today.
So that leads us right into our first section, the blockchain bottleneck. Because, while rollups sound absolutely fantastic in theory, actually creating one, that's been a massive headache for developers.
Here's the thing. Launching a new application-specific blockchain is it's a beast. It's complex, it's super expensive, and honestly, the worst part? You have to build your security from the ground up, from zero. And that leaves you incredibly vulnerable. It's kind of like trying to open a new bank, but first you have to go out and hire your own private army just to keep it safe. It's a huge barrier.
So how do you get around that? Well, this is where AltLayer comes in. They're positioning themselves as the perfect solution to this problem. Think of them as a roll-up factory.
And that factory analogy is pretty spot on. Instead of you having to build your own entire factory from scratch, AltLayer basically says, hey, just use ours. They offer what's called rollups as a service. It sounds fancy, but all it really means is they give you all the tools, all of the infrastructure, everything you need to launch your own custom, secure rollup, and you can do it in a tiny fraction of the time. It's exactly like cloud computing, Amazon Web Services, but for blockchains.
Okay, so how does this factory actually work? What's the secret sauce here? Well, the magic really comes down to two key ideas that are total game changers: modularity and restaking. Let's break down exactly what those mean. Right, so the old way to build a blockchain was, monolithic. Everything was just one giant, rigid piece, all tangled together. And if you wanted to change just one tiny thing, you risked breaking the entire system. But the AltLayer way, it's modular, and the Lego block analogy is perfect here. You can literally pick and choose the different blocks you need for things like settlement, execution, data, and snap them together to build a chain that's perfectly designed for your specific app. It's way more flexible, it scales better, and it's so much easier to upgrade down the line.
And this brings us to the second big innovation: restake security. See, before, every single new chain had to build its own security from scratch. That's like, starting a new country and trying to convince everyone your brand new currency is trustworthy overnight. It's almost impossible. But AltLayer uses a clever trick called restaking. It lets these new rollups essentially borrow the massive, battle-hardened security of an established chain like Ethereum. So right from day one, your new chain is super secure, and you didn't have to spend a fortune to get there.
So, what's actually powering all this? Well, you can think of these core services as the engine room. So, every rollup needs something called a sequencer. It's basically a traffic cop that puts transactions in order. AltLayer's service for this is called Squad, and it makes sure this job is decentralized so no single person is in control. Then you've got Vital. Think of this as a team of auditors constantly fact-checking to make sure all the rollups' math is correct. And finally, there's Mock, which gives you super fast finality. That's just a techie way of saying your transaction is locked in and confirmed almost instantly. Put them all together, and you get rollups that are decentralized, accurate, and incredibly fast.
Okay, so the tech is obviously super cool. But the real question is, how does all this advanced technology translate into a real working ecosystem? Something with actual value and trust. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the tech, right? It's about real-world adoption.
And right at the heart of that ecosystem is the ALT token. Now, this isn't just some speculative coin. It actually has a job to do. 3 jobs, really. First, you stake it to help secure the whole network. Second, it gives you a voice in governance, so you get a say in the future of the project. And third, it's what you use to pay for all those rollup services. This makes it a true infrastructure token, meaning its value is tied directly to how much people are actually using the platform.
Okay, now this next part is a huge deal, especially when you're talking about attracting serious, big money players. AltLayer got a SOC 2 Type 2 audit. Now, if you're not familiar with that, just know it's the gold standard for security compliance, the kind of thing big tech companies have to go through. So why does this matter so much? Because huge institutions, we're talking banks, pension funds, the big guys, they often have rules that say they literally cannot touch a piece of technology unless it has this stamp of approval. So by getting this, AltLayer is basically putting up a giant neon sign that says we're secure, we're professional, and we are open for serious business.
And you know, AltLayer isn't trying to do all this in a vacuum. They're out there building a powerful ecosystem by partnering with some of the biggest names in the space. When you see names pop up like Polkadot or A-Star, you should be thinking one thing: bridges. It's all about building bridges. A partnership like that means a rollup you launch on AltLayer can talk seamlessly with a completely different blockchain. And that is absolutely critical. We don't want a bunch of isolated digital islands. We want a connected, multi-chain world. That's how you get real adoption.
All right, let's look to the future a bit. How does all of this come together in their vision for, say, 2026? Let's talk about the potential scenarios for AltLayer, especially as this space just keeps getting more and more competitive. And this table lays out the possibilities really well. You've got your base case, right? That's just stable, steady growth, more cross-chain rollups getting adopted. Then you've got the really bullish scenario. This is where that big security audit pays off in a huge way, and major institutions start flooding in to build on AltLayer. But of course, you have to look at the other side. There's a risk scenario where the competition from other Layer 2s just gets so intense that it slows down developer adoption.
Now let's be real, every project has risks, and it's smart to know what they are. For AltLayer, a few things to watch out for. First, smart contract bugs. That's a risk for pretty much everyone in this space. Second, the competition is no joke. Other modular projects are popping up all the time. And finally, there's the learning curve. They have to make sure their platform is easy enough for developers to jump on board without a huge headache. That's an ongoing battle.
You know, I think this quote really nails the whole vibe of AltLayer. It says it works silently, but its technical impact can be profound. And that's it, right? This isn't about hype or flashy marketing. It's about building the quiet, foundational plumbing. It's like the essential protocols that run the internet. You don't see them, but they're there. It's designed to just work reliably in the background. But the impact of that, the stuff people can build on top of it, that could be absolutely massive.
And that really brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? AltLayer is making a strong case that this modular, restaked future is the right way to go for scaling blockchains. They've got the tech, they're focused on that institutional level trust, the path is definitely there. But in a space that moves this fast, the ultimate question remains: can they really execute on this vision and solidify their spot as the critical infrastructure for the next generation of crypto? Well, I guess only time will tell.